Hey everyone, welcome back to Quick Shifts. My name is Jason, and today we're going to road trip the Tesla Plaid for the first time for us for a serious road trip where we're going to use probably one or two at supercharger stops. I've never supercharged this vehicle before, so this will be a first for me. So let's go ahead and jump in the car and get this trip started. It should be about a 10-hour trip here from Greenville, South Carolina, up to Twinsburg, Ohio. So we're going to see how this infrastructure works, if we have problems at the charging station or problems waiting in line at the charging stations. And we're going to see what it's like real world situation. This will be a fun little video and we'll see how it goes. So let's get to it. All right, to start this off, obviously we fully charged using our EV IQO. So we'll go ahead and get that to release. And full charge on this vehicle should be 396 miles, I believe. We'll go ahead and jump in there. I'm gonna roll this cord up and then we'll jump in there and take a look at that. All right, so jumping in the car here, you guys can see full charge has 396 miles of range. We've got it set into our programming here to take us there. And we're gonna go ahead and get on this trip. Now, I'm not trying to set any records or any performance records or anything like that. I'm just gonna be driving how I normally drive to get us up there to Twinsburg, to my parents. And we'll see how this goes and what the reality of it is like for those of us who are first timers in electric vehicles. So as we get this trip started, first I'm going to stop and get a Starbucks. Finally getting on the freeway, and we'll be following this all the way up to Whiteville, Virginia for our first supercharging event. And that should be about 219 miles from where we are today. And we'll see if we can get up there incident free, and hopefully there'll be available charging and we'll get fast charging too, I hope, and have a smooth trip. So I'll check back in with you guys in just a little bit. So a few comments on full self-driving. When you're in traffic like this, that's stop and go, it makes a lot of mistakes. So it sees that we're in traffic, but it keeps trying to go over there into the merging lane, and then over there where trucks just have a gap, and it keeps turning the turn signals on. And the people behind me have to think I'm crazy, and that's just not the case. So that's something that really needs to be worked on. I mean, without a doubt, they call it full self-driving, but it really is just super cruise control, in my opinion. It does a lot of awesome things. The technology is amazing. It's come a long ways, but right now they're saying it's supervised. Well, it's not full self-driving then if it's supervised. It's just really robust, automated cruise control. Changes lanes, makes the turns. It's really helpful. It does make you less tired on these trips. I mean, I really enjoy using it, but it does make mistakes, and you do have to supervise it. It's not like you can turn it on and take a nap or something like that. And anybody who has that conception of it, it's wrong. This is just really, really advanced cruise control. Think of it that way, and you'll love it. If you think of it as actual full self-driving, then you've been fooled. It's not that. It's not good enough for that. At least the version I have is not good enough for that. And I just got a more updated version, and the graphics are amazing, but it's not ready for full self-driving. It's really, really good, but I wouldn't let it drive on its own without me watching it. But to each their own. One cool perk of this trip is we get to cruise through a couple of different tunnels. First up, Big Walker Mountain Tunnel. Now, if I was in the TRX, I'd be having a rev fest through here. A little bit different when you're in an EV. Nothing to rev, no sounds to be made. natural sound of the tunnel and the semis next to you. Alright, here we come on the East River Mountain Tunnel Pass, the second on this trip. Again, wish I had a V8 to do some revving in this tunnel, but I'll be plenty happy to go through this with my Plaid. Nothing like 1,000 horsepower, even if it doesn't make a bunch of noise. And boom, we're through it, and actually crossing over into West Virginia now. So we're making really good time, and on schedule for the most part. We're coming up on our first supercharger exit here in West Virginia at Princeton, West Virginia to be exact. Should be level 3 chargers capable of 250 kilowatt charge. So we're gonna pull in here, plug this thing in for its first supercharging experience in the Tesla Model S Plaid, and charge it up to whatever it says we need to do to get to the next charging point. And pretty happy with how this thing has done. It's done really well, and I'll grab the camera here, turn it around, and show you guys the stats on the screen. Alright guys, so there you can see my screen stats so far, driving using mostly FSD with a little bit of intervention in there. Again, Supervised is what it is. It really isn't full self-driving. It's just really good cruise control. But we'll be pulling in here so you guys can see where we're at on that. Switch this over in a second once we get through this turn. I want to make sure that I'm being a safe driver. We are going through some turny roads, mountain hills, all that stuff. So always got to be smart about what we're doing here. Once we get through this, then I will go ahead and hit the button for you guys. So switch this over, and I'll go to trips, and you guys can see how I'm doing on the trip so far. Since the last charge, I did reset the A trip a little bit late there, so I gotta tag a few miles on there for the total trip. But you guys can get the gist of this. And I'm pulling into the supercharger with roughly 70 miles of range. So I'm really happy with how the trip planner set this up, and we'll be pulling in a second. So here's our exit number 9. Alright guys, so here we are, and it says that I need to charge for 10 minutes to make it to the next supercharger. So we'll go ahead and plug this in and see how far we get. There we go. That's a really loud UPS truck. So we're plugged in and it's charging, and it is charging fast. 161 kilowatts and growing. 2 miles already gained, and I just plugged it in up to 180, 186, 188, and growing. And I'll be right back because I gotta run to the restroom. All right guys, so we've been here for a little over 20-30 minutes now. Finished my food. I'm gonna go ahead, unplug the Tesla, and we're gonna head off to the next stretch, to the next supercharger. Let's hop in and go. So you guys can see, gained quite a bit of mileage in that charge. So now it's got us stopping at Ripley, West Virginia, and we only need to charge for 20 minutes while we're there. That looks to be just over 2 hours away, 128 miles. So we're gonna hop on the road and get going. So for anybody who's curious and interested, you can see that charge cost me $25.74. And I do have this set to 100% because I'm doing this long road trip, but I do keep this at 80%, but most of the time my charge is well under 80%. This car mostly goes to and from work with the occasional weekend cruise here and there, and this is the longest road trip I've ever had it on. All right, so we're coming up on our second supercharging event, and this time the car is telling me that it's preconditioning the battery for fast charging. So that's something a little bit new for us. And we're roughly about 13 minutes out from it and coming up quickly. So Tesla, what the hell is this noise? As soon as I crank the window down, it goes away. Why? Why is it necessary to make that noise? Fix that crap. Stop it. Alright, we're pulling up to the next exit for our second supercharge experience here in Ripley, West Virginia. Exit 138. So this should be our final charge. I think we're going to need a 20-minute charge here. We'll check back in when I pull into the charging spot. So here we are in Ripley at the charging stations. So this station says that we should need 15 minutes of charging, so that should be more than enough time to throw my trash away and go to the bathroom. So we're stopping at 176 miles of range left, and we'll see what 15 minutes gets us. So let's go ahead and hop on out. Grab my trash. And plug this thing in. Got a connection. And you guys can see it's off and ripping, building up. 150, 160, 170, 180, 190. Looks like it's topping off at about 196, 195. We've been here about 15 minutes, maybe a little bit over, and we're up to about 310 miles now in range. So we're gonna go ahead, unplug the Tesla, and get back on the road and finish this trip. As you guys can see, there's several other charging units here and nobody else is charging. This trip has been magnificent. No problems or lines to get into the chargers. Let's go. Up to 317. Man, this thing was charging fast. Time to get back on the road. Well, we made it here. 10 hours later, about 40 minutes of charge time. We had a good charging curve. We had good use of energy. Might have drove a little bit too fast. I didn't like that. But overall, heck of a trip. We'll switch over here to the trips. And I need to add about 23 miles to that. But you can see how we did there. Pretty efficient. And for only spending 40 minutes of that 10-hour trip at a charging station, I have to say I'm extremely happy with the results. All in all, this was a great trip and a great experience. Much better than I anticipated. Again, it was during the week. This is a Tuesday, so maybe there wasn't as much traffic at the charging stations. But I have to say I'm thrilled with the results. Well, guys, that concludes our trip. We made it in just about 10 hours. We stopped 2 different times to supercharge, and both of those times we charged for about 20 minutes, and that gave us enough charge to get all the way up here. So we started with a full charge back in Greenville, stopped in West Virginia twice, and that got us all the way up here to Twinsburg, Ohio. And I have to say that spending 40 minutes, which, to be honest with you, I spent at least that much time going to the bathroom, getting snacks, and stretching my legs and walking back to the car, to where the car was ready to go when I got back to it. So I hear a lot of people saying that it's an inconvenience to have to charge your car on a trip. That didn't happen to me this time. Now I will say I lucked out, as you guys saw in the video, and every time I pulled into the charging station, it was empty. So I had my pick of stalls, and wherever I wanted to go and plug in the car, and I didn't have to compete with anybody for juice to power the battery up. So that might have played a big part in it. Again, I'm gonna have to do this trip in reverse, and I might grab some of that video, and if I run into any of those problems waiting for a charging spot or anything like that, I will definitely make a little video of that and let you guys know how that went. So thanks for checking in. If you watched the video all the way to the end, we really appreciate that. If you have any questions, comments, or anything you want me to answer, drop that down in the comments down below, and you know I always try to follow up on those. Thanks for watching. Hit that thumbs up, share this, like it, and we'll check you guys out later. Thanks.